Hello and welcome to our channel. Today we'll be showing you how to create a flow to automatically add a customer to your system every time you receive a request through email. We're gonna use Power's Automate UI's flows for that. So we have to go to My Flows and then UI Flows, and after that we click on New. And since our system is online, we are going to select Web Application. Then we hit Next, and it's gonna ask us to write a flow name. I'm gonna call it New Customer. Then it's going to ask us which is the URL that it have to access every time that you have to create a new customer. I'm gonna copy and paste the link. And after that, we can click on Launch Recorder. That is going to open a new Selenium IDE window. Then we have to click on the Record button. It's going to take us to the link that we indicated when setting up the name. Now let's log in. Once you log in, you have to show the recorder what are the steps that it needs to follow every time it has to create a new customer. So we go to the New Customer screen, and then we hit New Customer, and then we'll start filling out the form. So after that is filled out, we hit on Create Customer. A new customer has been added, so I'm just gonna log off and then I will close the window. After that, I'm going to stop recording, and in the Selenium window, we see step by step everything that we just did. For example, open this link. Then we logged in using our credentials. And here it saves the value that we typed there. So in general, it's going to show what is the action that it took and where it took it. It will generally use the identifier of each object. I've seen some examples in which the recorder is not able to recognize correctly which is the right ID. So when you test it, it fails. If you ever see that issue happening, you just need to go to the link and right click and then click on Inspect. It's gonna show you which is the identifier of the object. That can work also for fields and for other buttons. Now we are ready to retest our flow. However, we need to be able to set customer name, contact, phone, and email to be dynamic and depending on what we receive in the email request. So for that, we need variables. Variables in Selenium are set up with this format. You start with a $sign and then open curly brackets, and then you write the name of your variable. In this case, I'm going to name it Cost Name. You close the curly bracket, and I am going to save in a notepad that name of variable. Then we do a similar thing to the customer contact name. I am going to name this variable customer contact. Let's also save this in a separate place. Let's repeat this process for the number. And lastly, we have to go to the email and follow the same. As you can see, we have 4 different variables, and what the flow will be typing in each of the fields will depend on what we send here. And what we will send here will depend on what we have in the email. So now we need to find a way to link this flow with an email. So I am going to save my changes, and as you can see, this new flow was added to my list, and I'm going to go back here to my flows and start a new one. We're gonna select Automated. We're gonna put a name, and then we're gonna choose our trigger. We know that the request will come in an email, so I'm going to select when a new email arrives. And then we create this new flow. This is gonna take us to a new screen. When you put any process inside UI flows, it's a really good opportunity to standardize the process. So in this case, we are going to ask everyone that requests a customer to always put the same subject so the flow can correctly recognize all the requests. In this case, we are going to use the subject New Customer Request, and I'm gonna put as a subject filter. So then we add a new step, and this is the format in which we are going to receive the request. We will have 4 lines and then end of request. Since all the emails come in HTML format, we are going to convert that into regular text, and Power Automate already has an option for that. So let's type HTML, and we're gonna get this action here, HTML to text. We select it, and then we're gonna use the dynamic content from the email to select the body. And let's add a new step. As you remember, we are going to have 4 different variables, so we need to set those based on the HTML text that we have in the email. Let's create a variable, and I'm going to use the names here so they can be the same. We change it to string, and then we're gonna use a formula to extract the values. Power Automate has this split function in which it helps you to find where do we have specific information. In this case, for example, we need to find whatever is between customer name and contact name. So this is what this formula is doing. This body HTML to text is just the result of the previous step. As you can see, that's the way it's called. So we can just copy this, click on expression, and then hit OK. That way we have our first variable. We have to do the same with the 3 remaining. We're gonna leave this function for your reference in the description of the video. So now that we have our 4 variables, we need to call our flow by writing flow here, and we select run a flow for the web. And here we need to select which is the flow that we are going to use. In this case, it is new customer. And then, as you can see, it will automatically bring which are the 4 variables that it will expect to receive. And now we only need to select which Selenium variable will go with each of the variables that we just defined. Customer name, and then customer contact, customer number, and then customer email. And then we hit save and we are ready to start receiving requests and automatically create customers. It's important to mention that you need to have a data gateway setup to be able to run the flows. But in case you don't have it, you just need to click on add new connection and set up the gateway. Instructions on how to do that will be left in the description of the video. Now we are going to send the email request to see how the customer is automatically created. And then once the email is received, it starts the flow, it logs in, go to the customer screen, open the customer form, and it starts writing the information that it was sent in the email. And now we can send as many requests as needed, and it's going to always automatically add them. And that's it for this video. We hope you find this useful. Thank you so much for watching. We are Power GI.